Good day everyone, welcome to our research program. I am your host, Wisnu Srinugroho. And today we are privileged to have Professor Elena Stancanelli joining us to shed light on crucial aspect on gender and household economics landscape. Good afternoon, Professor Elena, how are you?
Thank you so much. I'm very well. I'm very happy to be here.
We are happy, we are honored you are actually coming to our research series to give information regarding gender and household economics. So before we start our conversations, I will briefly introduce Professor Elena. She is a senior researcher at CNRS Paris and a professor at Paris School of Economics. Her research focus in the area of applied microeconomics with expertise lies on household economics, time allocations, and conflict economics. Today we are going to explore the economics behind gender roles within household. Gender roles, as we understand, are deeply ingrained in society around the world, yet behind these seemingly traditional roles lies a complex interplay of socio-economic factors that influence how men and women engage with the labor market and manage household responsibility. To understand this dynamic, Professor Elena will help us by answering some questions. So we have like 5 questions for today. So we're gonna start with what is the meaning of gender role in household for economic perspective?
Okay, thank you so much. This is a very good question as a key point in this area. So traditionally, we grow up, especially our grandparents and older generations, with the idea that market work is for the man and work around the home is for the woman. Mm-hmm. So there is really these cultural gender norms that are rooted in the society, and it takes very long to change. So even when nowadays that in all the countries around the world, many women are contributed to the labor market. So they're working, they're making a career. We still will expect them to be at home if the child is sick. And no one is expecting the husband to be at home if a child is sick. So to give you an example of gender role and family, the family household economics, the importance of household economics is that it highlights that individuals are not economic agents that take a decision in isolation, but there are other members in the household and there is intra-household decision making. So we know for the labor market that people have, there are employers and there are workers, but within the household there are partners, there are other adults in the household. So often partners have to decide together. So like when the wife decides to work in the labor market, also the husband agrees with that. Mm-hmm. So many women can make a career also thanks to the husband that is also taking on board some childcare and household work. Mm-hmm. If the husband does not take on board childcare and household work, in many developed countries there are the divorces. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether this happens also in Indonesia, mm-hmm. but nowadays, especially in high educated couples, both partners, they know it's important also for the children. Yeah. So all this comes with gender norms, yeah. Because there is the household decision making, but then there are the gender norms that are rooted in our what we are used to see. So if, for example, as I said, there is a child that all of a sudden is sick, everyone expects that the woman will go home, but if for some reason the woman cannot go and the husband has to go, it's even difficult for the husband to tell his employer, I may have to go home because my child is sick, while everyone accepts it for the woman. So we still have gender roles that are very important. I only give an example, but there are many, many more examples. Whether my answer is clear, yeah. To give an overview.
Yeah, yeah. To follow up your questions, so you're mentioning that educations play important role, like how is the interplay between education, social norm in the society, and also like even the wage, like between men and women actually shape this gender interplay or like gender in the household.
Yes, yeah. So there is actually this. It's quite of a puzzle because as economists we are used to do wage analysis of earnings, analysis of wage, and you control for all the possible factors, the age, the education, the work experience, and we find the type of job. We always find that there is a residual difference between the earnings of the women and the earnings of a woman, which cannot be explained by the factors we observe. So why women on average earn less than men, even in similar type of jobs? Often because they have less promotion, or less career, their career is, but these things are changing a lot. Actually, the gender wage gap, the largest one, is unpaid household work. But even that one is shrinking.
Okay.
So if we see this in the, over the last century, men are doing more household work and childcare, and women are doing a little bit less, but it's still. But the gender wage gap is the largest. So gender wage gap is much smaller than the one in unpaid household work and childcare, and until that one does not diminish, it will be impossible for the gender wage gap to also disappear, because until women have all the responsibility of childcare and the household, they cannot make really a career, because you are not so much available, you cannot work long hours. So the important thing is equal sharing of household work and childcare. And this is also good for the children. As a gender economist, I have to emphasize that we show also as economists that it's very good for children development if fathers also take care of them.
True.
Yes.
Last weekend I just had research with my daughter, because she has to do like gummy research. And then like the mom is like, you just do whatever your teacher said. But I said, no, as a pure researcher, you have to do like correctly. And then like we do like with the fridge, with the freezer. So then, like, and my daughter is like actually happy, because like I give some ideas. That's actually very correct with your
Well
statement.
done.
Yeah, thank you. We also know what is it, like a word called like motherhood penalty. Well, the moms or like the female, and when they carry children, it's become like kind of burden in a way that in the career trajectories and also wage. What do you think like this interplay in this labor market, and then it's still like still relevant in today's because you say like it's getting better, the disparities are actually getting shrinking, but do you think like still happening in the current world, or like what happened?
Yes. So all over the world, people are so economists and researchers and those interested in women's labor supply and gender equality. They really find that there is the big differences for the labor market participation and earnings of women start when they become a wife, so when they get married and when they have children. When they get, and if you look at the single women, very often labor supply and hours are similar to those of men. Still, you may find some wage differences, though. So there have been a number of studies, especially for the famous Scandinavian countries, that these are among the countries that are considered champion of gender equality: Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Norway. So what they find is that even in those countries, women of childbearing age, they have lesser earnings that men, everything controlling of similar age and experiences, qualification for the same job, because all the employers are anticipating these women are childbearing age, so they're gonna have children, so it's better to promote a young man than a young woman. And so actually, even if you don't have a child, it's just being of childbearing, so the women at the age at which they have children, they are very so that is a child penalty. That it actually, some studies argue that it applies to all the women of that age, and others think it's mainly for people that already have children, so for mothers. And then, actually, let me say, there is the counterpart of the picture, which is the fertility rate. So we know that over the world, the governments are very worried about the fertility rate.
Declining.
Children, couples are having fewer children. Correct. And I know this is the same also in Asia. The lowest fertility rate all over the world is South Korea, 0. Followed, I think, by Italy. I'm Italian. Less than 1 child per couple. And what is and that everywhere it's declining the number of children per couple. So we know with the various budgetary issues and also long life longer life expectancies, and so few children. There is a problem from the macroeconomic perspective for the government budget. How do you call it? Balance, right? You need to have more entry, you know. And so what's happening, you know, there is the other side of the medal, because women do not have any more children, because if they have children, they cannot make a career. Couples don't want to have more than one child. Also, the husband, now that he has to do more child care, he also agrees that and maybe one child is better. It's also very expensive for the education, for the education and so on. So I think it's really important for the economy, for the society, for the couple's happiness, that we could make it easier for parents, for young people, to have both a career and happy children, happy employers, everyone happy. So in my view, the solution is, of course, you need to have some childcare available, maybe a little shorter working hours. I know that you Indonesians are working very long hours. I think you may have, because if I talk a little bit too much, but I want to refer to Claudia Goldin, the Nobel Prize winner. One of her work is about if we want to really have a convergence in gender equality in the labor market, we need to have shorter working hours in all the occupation. She finds that the higher paying jobs, the most high skilled jobs, hours are very, very long. And that is where the wage gap is the larger. So she recommends reducing working hours in one of her last paper called The Grand Gender Convergence.
The Grand Gender Convergence.
Thank you so much.
Yep. All right. So back to your expertise in the gender and household economics. Like we know, like we have been like discussing with some behavioral economists as well, like how this behavioral science can enrich your area. Like for example, like have you like done like lab experiment, or like what's usually like study that been done on that aspect?
Yes. So nowadays, after all there is a very new strand of literature in the gender economics field, which is trying to see how can we change the gender norms, because one of the reasons for differences, even when you solve the child care problem, and you have a more equal sharing of paid and unpaid work, but to have more equal sharing of paid and unpaid work, and to have employers promote women as much as men, we need to tackle the traditional gender norms. So how do we impact them? You can run some behavioral experiments. So some researchers, they have tried to address these examples with answering vignette studies. So they send a little short picture. So a vignette study is a short picture with a very short story, and it tells a story about maybe someone that should be promoted, and they vary the gender of this person in the vignette. Sometimes it's a woman, sometimes it's a man, so it's random variation. And they present it to employers, and they ask them to answer. Or you can do a lot of experimental methods. Some of these experiments have been done in the military, because the military is a very masculine, male sector. So what they do in these experiments, they have men and women working together in the military sector, and they see that then the men, they were in a team together with women, they change their attitudes to women, and they're happier to have women in their teams in the future and to work with women. Because there is also the issue that in male-dominated sector, it's very hard for women to enter and to make careers, because all the bosses are men. So if you have a woman boss, people don't like it. So it's very hard. So it is really important to change gender.
Is it also like in economics, right? Like economics all over the world is still like dominated by male. Like, what do you think about that? Like, it's like economics is a similar problem with the male-dominated sector.
So economics, in the OECD, there are still very few women full professors, but many women doing PhDs in economics. And women are specializing especially in labor economics and public economics.
Yeah.
And there are fewer women in macroeconomics and theory. But here in University Gajah Mada, you have many women macroeconomists.
Microeconomists.
So you have to be careful. Maybe they will be in Europe we want to recruit.
So we have to keep them.
Yes, you are champion of gender equality. Yes,
in the economics. Okay, so next question is about gender quotas. Like we know that gender quota basically like try to promote gender equality through the small amount, like a limited amount of quota that women need to be involved for economics. Like what's the quota all about? Like, and then also does with this quota actually improve or like creating impact in broader economic equality?
Yes. So there have been. So I know that there were quotas for women in politics in India, for example. In Europe now we have in all the European countries obligatory quota for women in the board of company that are quoted in the stock exchange. So 40% of the board of directors have to be women. So the stock exchange companies, so financial companies, had to have 40% of women in the board of the company. So economists, of course, have studied this. What they found is that for the moment, there is no effect. So it does not seem to affect the firm performance, neither positively nor negatively. And it does not affect employment and promotions of other women within the companies. But then some scientists went even further, so they took data on all the board companies in France. This is a study by colleagues of mine at Paris University. They look at data, they had to buy this data, very expensive, to know who is in the board of all the companies quoted in the stock market in France. And they found that when they put 40% of women in the board, they give them roles which are no power. So even if they are obliged to have 40% of women in the board, they will not get positions where they can really change any much. And so in a way, now they say that we need quotas, but also the quota has to say that they have to be put in power position within the company. But maybe this is too much interference with the private company. These are private companies. So I don't think that this is the full solution. I don't think that this is a solution. In the area of quotas, we have soft quotas. So soft quotas is a recommendation to have more women and highlight that there is a need to have more women for justice, equality, but also for productivity, because some studies show that when you have diversity, people bring on different views, and it's also good for the performance and the rating of the company, and also maybe for the customers to see that you have women in that company. So, but if it's soft, it's only a recommendation. If it's hard quotas, you impose 40% of women in the board of the company. There are some drawbacks. It's still very good to have quotas. The drawbacks of quotas are only that in any way company will minimize the impact if they feel obliged by finding ways to counter the obligation. Some companies even move outside Europe so they don't have to comply with the quotas. Yes.
But the face of woman as a representative is actually important, right? Like I think, like for example, like a daughter of mine, like and seeing like female can become president or like become ministry or become a scientist is also like a good representation, right? What do you think?
Yeah, this is the role model channel is very important. Yes, yes. So actually now they also have. Claudia Goldin, the Nobel Prize winner, she started a program together with other researchers. They got a big research grant to start a program to promote women in economics in the United States, in the universities, and they use this role model strategy. So they try to incentivize the presence of senior women and women in seminars and women professors, so that also more students are attracted to the. So the role model channel is really important.
That's the most important one. Like why we put quota, for example, like in political. Indonesia has a political like 20-25%.
Oh, really?
Yep,
That's great.
for political, but I think that never been met until because sometimes like they just lose, and then like we also have a draw fight back from the very religious group that like a female shouldn't be a leader, something like that. So
Okay, still I found many figures that I showed to the students here about the political representation of women in Indonesia, and they list all the Asian countries, and Indonesia is always among those that perform very well.
yep.
At the top there is always New Zealand, and at the bottom we don't mention
Secret.
because we are, we don't want to offend anyone. But some countries are at the bottom, and Indonesia is quite on the second half.
Yeah.
So you can improve, but relative to your neighbors, you are doing
Pretty
fine.
okay.
You're
Pretty
not.
well.
That's good.
All right, I think the fifth and probably like last questions, and then we can like discuss a little bit on the conclusions. There's some issues, right? Definitely, like Indonesia or like outside the world. Moving forward, what should government Indonesia or like other countries should do, and then all the stakeholders actually navigate this issue, like how to promote like gender equality without any drawbacks or without any fight back, something like that. What are your
Yes.
suggestions?
Yeah, I think definitely it's an agenda which is very important because it can have positive effects on fertility, and the government is really worried about low fertility rates.
Correct.
It can have a good effect on productivity. Recent studies by Chicago economists, they show that opening the professions, the high-skilled profession to women and also to ethnic minorities in the US in the last century has contributed to like 8% of GDP growth. So there is important contribution for economic growth. So what should the government do? I think they have to have legislation. First of all, it's important, the way it started in OECD countries is we have equal opportunity laws where it says that you cannot pay different wages to different people for the same job with the same occupation. It's a good start. Of course, people may not comply with this, but having equality of opportunity laws is a very good first step. Having a child care would be also very good. I'm not so sure how do you provide for the child care system. In France is one of the countries where I am based, which is most well known for their child care system. So people study it from other countries. So what they do in France is that you have these public child care facilities. If you are a professor, you're gonna pay the full cost.
Full amount, full fee. Yeah.
The full fee. And if you are a lesser low-skilled person, you will have a reduced fee. So it will be maybe for free completely if you are very, very low-skilled. But you can only have access to the childcare place if you are working.
Okay.
So it's not given to people that are not working, and you should work full-time, both parents. And then the costs are shared, is a bit like taxation. But there is also some contribution from the state. Even for the university professor, we know we are not.
We're not that rich.
We are not at the top of the percentile. So it's still important to have the state that puts facilities, so the building facility, they pay the workers, and then some of the costs are shared by the parents. Actually, there are even childcare facilities in which parents are contributing, but that would be difficult. We are longer working hours cultures, but in some childcare facilities in France, they're like associations. And so they still have some subsidies from the state, but then it is the parents that have to spend like 1 day a month at the childcare, taking care of all those children, not just theirs. This is very
Rotating.
tough. This is very tough, yes, but it can be interesting.
That's
yes.
interesting. Like in Indonesia case, I think we still rely on parents, like a grandpa.
Yeah, grandparents.
Yeah, because we have like a communal society that most of us like living close to the grandmas, to the grandpas.
Yeah.
But some progress, like for example, like in campus we have like also childcare, but it's actually coming from the Faculty of Political Science. They know like childcare is expensive and care work is important, so they actually create childcare for their professor and also staff. So that's I think one start point. University should be like the one that doing that, and then like the rest of the society I think will follow, right? Like when it's actually it's good, and then
also the school hours.
Yeah.
Like in France, the school starts around 8:30, and you can take your children at between 3 and 4 p.m. But if you like, they can also stay there until 6:30 p.m. There are some activities organized by the school. While in many other European countries, the parents or someone has to take the children at 2 p.m., for instance.
Okay.
So it's very hard for parents to work. The
Interesting.
school hours is also very important.
It's very interesting. Like our faculty actually will collaborate in the future creating this economics of care work with the World Bank. So we have a colleague in the World Bank that actually want to introduce that in our department. So maybe in the future we will discuss more about this.
So you will be the champion.
A lot of new stuff for the future. All right, thank you so much, Dr. Elena. To be sum up, I think like you mentioning that make sure we have a gender equality because it's actually promote fertility to handle like low fertility issues. We also have a higher productivity if we have a gender equality, and then how we do it like by creating law, legislation law from the equal opportunity law, which same wage between male and female, and also like providing a child care work. I think like if I want to close, I'm closing like what you're saying with the Claudio Golding, like we have to reduce our long hours. That's actually true for professor as well. We work too much for sure. Then like with the reduce of hours, we actually will reach the convergence that Professor Golding mentions. Thank you so much to come again in the research series FEB-UGM. And then for all the listeners, hope you to see us in the future. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.